Hi, everyone. It's Randy Weingarten, president of the AFT. And today I'm in a car on my way to visit with retirees on Long Island. This won't surprise anyone who has bought groceries or gas this week, but inflation is a real thing again and just hit COVID-like levels, its highest since 2023. Unfortunately, President Trump doesn't seem to care. When he was asked about the economic squeeze Americans are feeling, he said, and I quote, "I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody," end quote. And while our president is thinking about his ballroom, Americans are sitting around their kitchen tables thinking about their financial situation, worried about paying for groceries, car repairs, rent, healthcare premiums, college tuition, pretty much everything. 62% of Americans now disapprove of President Trump's leadership on everything from his handling of the economy to starting the war in Iran, which is why we presume that Republicans, particularly in the South, are scrambling to redraw congressional maps right before the midterms. The gutting of the 1965 Voting Rights Act has triggered their rush to rig maps, particularly across the South. The irony should not be lost on anyone. On this, the country's 250th birthday, voters should be choosing their politicians. The politicians should not be choosing their electorate. And worse, should not be taking power away from people by eliminating districts where Black Americans were able to have a voice because of the Voting Rights Act. That's why I will be in Montgomery, Alabama this weekend as we gather for a national day of action for voting rights. Americans are rightfully anxious and angry, but we can't be discouraged. People vote this time. Working families will win. If people vote, kids will win. Team humanity wins. We can and must win in November and get back on a path to a better life for all of us. So I've talked about a lot of this in my New York Times column this weekend, which you can find on Sunday at aft.org. A new report about reading and math scores came out this week as well. It shows that losses in reading and math scores started more than a decade ago, around 2013, corresponding with the rise in cell phones and social media. It debunks what educators have known, that while many factors, including COVID and poverty, affect children and their academic success, you can't ignore the impact of all this tech on kids. We push for social media guardrails, but the tech companies had endlessly deep pockets. Schools are now starting to limit screens, but it's just a start. We need to engage students with active learning, interesting projects, hands-on experiences, and deep connections with other students and adults. And I'll have more to say about this in the coming weeks. But I did have a school visit this week that reminded me personally why I love being a high school teacher. I had incredible conversations with students at Woodlands High School in Greenburgh, New York. We talked about the state's, New York State that is, ban on cell phones during the school day, about ed tech, and how federal cuts to education are hurting them. They had so much enthusiasm, so much wisdom, and so many great questions, including about artificial intelligence. Finally, as I do every week, let's take a quick spin around the country. Graduate workers at the University of Illinois, Chicago, are nearing a contract after several weeks on strike. 158 nurses at Northwestern Medical Center in Vermont ratified their first contract, and in Ohio, faculty at the Columbus College of Art and Design won their first union contract. After 50 years of bargaining, St. John's University in New York City is canceling the contract and using surveillance and intimidation to discourage faculty from organizing. It's unacceptable, and we stand in solidarity with St. John's AUP. And frankly, St. John's administrators should look at the leadership of the Board of Arts in Motion, a charter school in Chicago, which just voluntarily recognized the staff union. The board stated, quote, "We believe our educators deserve respect. So when they desired to unionize, it was an easy yes," unquote. Congratulations as you forge your new collaborative relationship. But Virginia is a different story. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger betrayed Virginia's public service workers by blowing back on her campaign promise to support collective bargaining for the people who make the Commonwealth and the communities running it every day work. And we will keep fighting for this important right. And I want to finally remind members about the AFT's Fight for Affordability campaign. We have resources to protect you from things like predatory lending, to deal with various types of debt, and navigating credit reports. You can find all of this at aft.org/affordability. And for those dealing with medical debt, AFT's Debt Navigator can help people better understand their options. Also, aft.org/debt navigator. You are there for people you serve, and AFT is here for you. Thank you for all you do, and I'll be back next week.